Hello, and welcome back. We're going to look at Punnet squares again. This time, we're going to ask another question. How can we predict the outcome of a two-trait cross? Let's say we want to look at two traits together. We know they assort independently, so they're not affecting each other, but how are we going to do that? What if we want to know what will happen if we breed together tall plants with red flowers and short plants with white flowers? Would there be any tall with white flowers or short with red flowers? How are we going to find that out? Well, let's walk through one of these examples and we'll show you how that's done. Okay, so what is the first thing we need to do in this example? We need to determine the parent genotypes. In order to do that, our problem also said that assume the red and the tall are dominant. So if we just set up our naming conventions, and we're going to call the color red, will be the capital R for the dominant allele, and lowercase r will be for the recessive allele. So the lowercase r is white. And same with T. We'll call capital T for tall dominant allele, and the lowercase t for the recessive allele that is short. Now we can determine our parent genotypes. One of the parents is heterozygous tall and homozygous for red. So heterozygous tall is one of each allele for the height. And then it's homozygous for red. That means it will be red, homozygous dominant. Let's look at the other parent. Short plants with white flowers, that's the other parent. So if it's short, it has to have two recessive alleles for the height, and it has white flowers, so it has to have two recessive alleles for the color. So now we just found our two parent genotypes. Let's move on to the next step. Now we have our two parent genotypes rewritten right here for the two traits. We need to use the FOIL method because we want to determine all of the possible gametes, all of the possible combinations that could happen with these alleles. And I don't know if you remember from algebra when you use FOIL, first, outside, inside, and last. And that's how you can combine them. So if we take the first possible combination, we could have one dominant allele for the height and a dominant allele for the color. And now if we go outside, we have capital T, capital R. And then if we go inside, we have TR. And last, we have TR. Let's do the same thing with this, although it will be pretty easy because they're all lowercase. You see that? And then here and here. So these are all TR, 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 TR. They are all recessive. That one's very easy. So what I've just done is I've listed all the different possible combinations that the height and the color traits might combine. So the next step is to place these allele combinations in our Punnet square. And we need to set up a 4x4 Punnet square because we have more, we have two traits that we're considering, and so there will be more different possible combinations. So now from the last frame, I'm going to take those different possible combinations. I'm looking at this parent right now, okay? So I'm going to take the combinations that I found from the last frame and place them along one side. There's one allele from each trait. Now look at this parent. I'm going to place the allele, different possible combinations of alleles from each trait along this side. Now I just rewrote this, typed it in for us. Step 4, I fill it in. So now here's the one parent crossed with the other parent. Now I can fill these in, and I'm going to suggest that when you fill in for this is called a dihybrid cross rather than a monohybrid cross because we have two traits that we're looking at. I suggest that you keep them together. So I'm going to, as a convention, because that's what we've done here, we've done the height first. And so I'm going to look at the height alleles first, and we put the capital first, and then the lowercase. And then I'll look at the color, and I'm just crossing this with this, and it goes into that square. Now, this will be actually the same. And if I keep these in the same order, it will be a lot easier to figure in the end. Now I'm going to cross this with this, the parent of each of these alleles. I'm going to have 2 recessive for height, and then the color will look like that, and then this will be the same. Now, if you'll remember, we can use arrows. It says right there, use arrow shortcut when possible. Because each of these are identical all the way down, these will be the same all the way down. So I can simply take an arrow and say these are all going to be the same all the way down those columns. And we've now filled in our Punnet square. Here we have our Punnet square that's all filled in, and our next step is to give the phenotype ratios only. So for our dihybrid, we're going to tell what the phenotype ratios are. For this phenotype, this will be tall, red. This one is tall and red. This one's short and red. This one's short and red. So we can write down, we know that if all of these are tall and red, that's 50%. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 16. We can write 8/16. We can write 50%. Or you can do the number counting if you'd like. So that would be tall and red. Oops. 50%. We have 0 that are tall and white. Then we have short and red, 50%. And we have 0% that are short and white. And those are our phenotypes for this problem. Okay, now you need to try a problem on your own. Here it is. What are the results? Meaning give the phenotypic ratio only of a cross between 2 plants, and each of them are heterozygous, I should say for green pods, and heterozygous for yellow peas. Now, before you start, realize that this right here is not this problem. This is simply an example using the same green pods versus yellow pods, and yellow peas versus green peas, or seeds. The peas are the seeds. So this is simply showing an example of a different problem. These are all homozygous, and they're crossing 2 homozygous organisms to get offspring. You are going to be crossing heterozygous. This just gives you an idea of what letters to use for your naming conventions. You have G's and Y's, and which ones are dominant and which ones are recessive. So see if you can work this out, and the answer will be on the next frame. So just go ahead and pause the video and work it out on your own. Okay, hopefully you got this right, and here is the answer for all of this. The genotypes are written in here, and we're going to look at the phenotypes and go ahead and record those together. Green pods, unless you've already recorded them, hopefully you got them all right. Green pods and yellow peas. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 out of 16 are the green pods with yellow peas. We have green pods with green peas, and that's 1, 2, and 3. 3 out of 16 will be green pods with green peas. And then yellow pods with yellow peas, there are 3 of those. So again, we have 3 out of 16. And yellow pods and green pea, there's only 1 out of 16. Now something important to notice is that when you do a dihybrid cross and you have 2 heterozygotes crossing, mating, you will always have these proportions for your phenotypes. You will always have 9, 3, 3, and 1. out of 16 for your phenotype. So that's an important thing to remember and to look for, just to check and make sure you're right. An advanced idea, make up and solve a problem using a 3-trait cross. A trihybrid is what that would be called. See if you can figure out how you might do that. And I look forward to seeing you in class and helping you work some more of these problems.